Um, this is a bit shorter and a little bit more impromptu. Um, Essentially, I lost, just to give an explanation, I lost the Season 3 prologue video that I did, since I'm still such a noob at this and I don't understand how Twitch works. And because I'm also a procrastinator, I waited too long to upload the prologue video, and now I don't have access to it because the 14-day thing on Twitch expired, so I can't upload it to YouTube, so because it's gone, which really sucks. But hey, I'm an idiot. I'm gonna have to figure this out. It's just I'm new to it, so I can't really. It's my screw up, so it sucks. But I'll sort of try to go over the changes that happened. Not in real time, obviously, but just go over it. I mean, it's pretty easy to do, I guess. So pretty much everything on the sponsorship side going into Season 3 stayed the same. Pacifico was still our primary sponsor. We kept on Zynetto, Atlantic, and DSP Optics. I like their logos, honestly, and I think their goals are pretty simple to achieve. Shouldn't have any problems, and then I went. And then at the start of the season, or at the end of Season 2, we had reached level 20, which enables us to get our fifth sponsor. Which I decided to go with, I guess this is 7? I guess that's how it's I guess the 7's meant to be an S or something, but it's 7. Actually, I've always liked the logo since I first saw it in some of the demo videos before the game came out and whatnot. Looks like a cool logo, and then the goal was pretty, I think, given the pace of our car, pretty easily attainable. Where we would score 20 Constructors Championship points during race weekend. And if you do the math, we essentially get that if either myself or my teammate wins the race, which, given the car we have, is pretty easy to do. Given the pace of our car, it's pretty easy to do. It's a pretty attainable goal, because if one of us wins the race, then we get the bonus outright. Because it's 25 points. And even if we don't win, we can still get it as long as we finish basically inside the top 5, because 5th gets 10 points and 4th gets 12 points, so that's 22 points, so that works out. And so basically, as long as we finish inside the top, it's basically finishing inside the top 5, both cars, each race, which, again, given the pace of our car, it's pretty easy to achieve, so that's why I picked it, and plus it's a nice logo. I really like the logo. So there you go. I think I'll go to, well, just to give a quick recap of the finance history. It's pretty, that part of it's pretty self-explanatory. As far as the car livery, livery did not change, though I did decide to move around some of the sponsors. I think DSP Optics stayed where it was, which is on right below the number there, and then sort of in the back of the car here. I think what I mainly switched up was Zynetto, which was where I think Zynetto actually originally had been on the back wing over here. So Zynetto had been on the rear wing over here, where 7 is. I put the Pacific logo again where the Atlantic logo is now, and I saw the Pacifico logo on the halo. And then Atlantic was where Zynetto is, and of course Zynetto was where 7 is. So what I did is I put 7 in the back on the rear wing, and then I guess equally right above the number on the front of the car. I moved Atlantic here to the right behind the front wheel, and then by putting it there, it also appears on the halo. And then I put Zyneto sort of on the upper section here, right behind the driver. So yeah, I think it's I think in terms of sponsorship placement, I think I found a pretty good balance. So yeah, that's what the car looks like. That's how I went about doing the sponsors. Of course, team colors and whatnot didn't change. I guess I'll just go through quickly. So I upgraded. Pretty much everything's at Spec 3 right now. We'll just go through all of them. So this is what aerodynamics looks like. Spec 3. This is what chassis looks like at Spec 3. And yeah, I should know, I made a bunch of upgrades going into the season, and then I added some more as the season went on. So there's that. This is what the personnel department looks like. You see our very fancy simulator. Very much an upgrade from just one little computer screen that we started out with, which is nice to see. Here's our powertrain department, upgraded to level 3. Durability department, upgraded to level 3. And finally, the marketing department, upgraded to level 3. Alright. I kind of go over the R&D chart every race, so you kind of really see that anyway. But you know the story, we're like well ahead of everyone else. Guess you missed out picking... you missed out on me picking like the weekly activities for the, you know, the preseason essentially. And the car reveal, but again, I just went over the car, so... Excuse me. I guess the last thing to go over will be what the driver changes were. So obviously, myself picking Daniel Ricciardo from Renault to drive the Jaguar team sort of set off this crazy chain. Well, not as big of a chain reaction, but I'll go through it. So Hamilton, of course, stayed the same. No real change. Actually, let's see if I can sort this by team. Can I sort it by team? Okay, here we go. Actually, it's not how I was hoping it was to be sorted. Okay, well, regardless, we'll just go. We'll just do it this way. Okay. So the Mercedes, Hamilton, Bottas, stayed the same. No change there. We hired Ricciardo from Renault, so that was obviously one major change. Of course, with Sebastian Vettel retiring, that meant there was an open seat at Ferrari, and I was kind of curious who they would get to fill that seat. And it turns out they got Max Verstappen to fill that seat at Ferrari, meaning that Ferrari's lineup was Verstappen and Leclerc, which is a very, very juicy lineup, if you ask me. Racing Point, Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll, so the same lineup there. McLaren, Carlos Sainz, and Lando Norris, so that lineup remained the same. Red Bull was a bit of an interesting one, since they lost Max Verstappen, so that meant that they had to fill their other seat. And I was a little surprised that they decided to keep Albon and didn't go for another bigger name driver, but we'll get to that in a second. AlphaTauri, Danica Kvyat, And this is some interesting shuffling that was sort of caused by me getting Ricciardo from Renault. Danny Kvyat remains AlphaTauri, but they went with Roman Grosjean to fill an AlphaTauri seat. So Grosjean jumped from originally Haas to Alfa Romeo, and then now Alfa Romeo to AlphaTauri. So jumping from Alpha to Alpha. And the reason why a AlphaTauri seat was open was because Pierre Gasly was tapped to fill the seat left open by Daniel Ricciardo at Renault, which I thought was a very interesting pickup. I was curious to see who they would pick up because Renault showed a lot of pace at the very end of Season 2. So I knew if they sort of at least stayed in the top 3 or 4, their car would be a good car. And they've fluctuated throughout most of the season so far, but they've done pretty good. I think Gasly's gotten at least I think he's gotten 2 podiums. I definitely got 1. He might have gotten 2 so far this season. So he's doing mixed. I mean, they've gotten podiums, but they've also been out of the points. So I guess it really depends on the race. But I think the fact that he's apparently him teaming with Ocon is very interesting because apparently, despite the fact that it's an all-French lineup at the French team, French manufacturer, apparently Ocon and Gasly do not like each other in real life. So the fact that this is how it ended up was very interesting. And then with Grosjean going from Alfa Romeo to AlphaTauri, that left a seat open at Alfa Romeo, which is filled by my former teammate Kevin Magnussen. Kind of surprised that, I guess I was expecting Magnussen to go to Red Bull, to be honest. Thought he would have been a pretty solid choice for Red Bull to go with, considering he had won a race in Season 2, and he did pretty well in Season 2 in the points, once I sort of upgrading the personnel department, but no, Kevin Magnussen went back to the Ferrari camp, you can say. So that meant the only other seat open was Red Bull, because Russell and De Vries remained the players at Haas, and Williams remained with Calderon and Latifi. I was actually kind of surprised that they decided to keep Calderon, considering that she was basically like not doing well, let's just put it that way. But interesting enough, Red Bull ended up going with Matsushita, Nobuharu Matsushita, for their second seat, which created a lineup of Albon and Matsushita. I actually sort of like how it sort of makes some sense, because you would think that Honda would want a Japanese driver, if they had the opportunity to have a Japanese driver in F1, so in that regard, it kind of makes sense, you know. Matsushita staying within the Honda family. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone else is a free agent. So yeah, that were all the driver changes. Of course, the big one, most impactful one, being us getting Daniel Ricciardo for Jaguar Racing F1 team. So they're going again. My apologies. I again, like I said in the beginning, I totally screwed up. It's just, I know there's a 14-day deadline on converting Twitch to YouTube before you lose it forever, and I just procrastinated and I lost it. But hopefully, I did a decent enough job of like sort of not simulating, but just going over the changes, even though it's not really, you know. Obviously, it would be better to see the changes in real time. And the contract negotiations with Ricciardo were pretty easy. I mean, I met all the requirements. There was a little bit of bidding, but in the end, we got it pretty easily, and we had enough money, well, more than enough money saved up to win a bidding war with Renault for Ricciardo services. So, yeah, there we go. So that was effectively the Redux of my Season 3 Prologue. So, apologies, and hope this fills the void left from an actual Prologue video.